President Trump is moving forward with his plan to impose 25% tariffs on nearly all goods imported from Canada and Mexico. It's set to go into effect Tuesday. The president also plans to impose an additional 10% tariff on imports from China, marking the second time he's increased levies against China since taking office in January. A tariff is a tax on imported goods purchased from another country. So if a company purchases foreign goods, it must pay a tax to its home country's government. Let's bring in CBS News MoneyWatch correspondent Kelly O'Grady. Kelly, which products will be most affected by these tariffs, and how soon could people feel that impact?
Okay, so let's start with the first. Oil is a big one. There's a 10% tariff that would be going into effect on Canadian energy, and we get a lot of our crude oil from them. So think about the price of gas that you're going to pay at the pump. Think about the cost to heat your home. Other areas, automobiles, so cars, also car parts. We get a lot of cars coming into the U.S. from Canada and Mexico. And then sort of a broader range of goods, everything from fruit and vegetables to electronics, clothing, toys, a lot of those things that we get from China. How quickly things could go into effect on that oil front, you could actually see prices increase within the next few weeks. But on some of these other pieces, it's going to be more about what inventory these companies have in-house already, whether they would need to be buying something in the near future where they would pay that import tax. Broadly, it takes about 6 to 9 months for it to fully flow through to your wallet.
So Canada's foreign affairs minister says that their country has a package of retaliatory measures in place, ready to go in anticipation of this. What would that look like, and how would that affect both economies?
Okay, so it's about $155 billion of goods that they would tariff us, essentially. And it's everything from machinery and transportation to meat, agricultural products. We also send a lot of oil to Canada. So that's sort of what it would look like there. When it comes to a trade war, no side wins. So I think the hope is that at some point, these two countries would come together.
We saw a significant sell-off in the markets. This really took place the same time that President Trump said there was nothing Mexico or Canada could do to stave off these tariffs. An index that you like to call the fear index on the rise as well. So what is driving all of this, and what can we expect perhaps ahead of Tuesday's congressional address?
Well, you and I sat here earlier today and we were talking about this. I mean, the second that he said the tariffs were going into effect, you saw the big sell-off in the market. In fact, we had been up earlier in the day. So it really was driven by this. The fear index essentially tracks how much volatility we expect over the next 30 days. It spiked 20%. So ahead of tomorrow, you could see more volatility. But really over the next month, as investors digest, is this going to happen? Is this not going to happen? You could see even more volatility.
And on Sunday, President Trump named 5 cryptocurrencies that are under consideration for this so-called strategic reserve. What would that look like? What does that mean?
Okay, so we do have a strategic reserve when it comes to gold and other foreign currencies. The United States holds a certain portion of these different currencies or minerals as sort of a reserve to back against the U.S. dollar. Crypto, these are very volatile assets. They could be going all over the place. What I'm hearing from my sources in the crypto industry is people were excited about Bitcoin because it is a known entity. But the fact that other cryptocurrencies like Solana, XRP, Ether were named as well, there's a lot of frustration that we were going beyond what he promised when he originally campaigned.
Okay, gotcha. Kelly O'Grady, thank you.